Welcome to Shom Achshav on the Daf Shir sponsor Lui Nishmas. I'm Yaakov Shalom Le'Abbas Yitzchok. We're holding Basra Daf Ayin Tes. The Gemarah in the top of Mudalaf brings Omar Rav Yudo Omar Rav Kol HaPoyresh B'Divrei Torah Eish Oichaltoi. Someone who leaves Divrei Torah, fire consumes him. The Gemarah brings a pasuk for that. Then the Gemarah says Ki also Avdim Yom Av Yonason Kol HaPoyresh Atzmoi B'Divrei Torah Neifel B'Gehenim. Someone who leaves Divrei Torah falls in Gehenim. The Gemarah brings a pasuk for that. Two mamers that seem to be different. One says he's going to be burned, and one says he's going to be neifel begenim. How do we understand these two mamers? So there's three main mahalchi that we'll discuss here on this year. Mahalch number one is the Marashal. Marashal Chedush Agodas wants to say, they talk about two different cases. The first case talk about when you have two people. You have a chavusa, that instead of learning together, they're causing each other to be battle. Each one is mevatas chaveiru midivrei Torah. If a person does that, then you get to the fire. And that's why he brings the lotion that kol hapoyesh midivrei Torah eshochaltoi v'nasatis ponai bahem me'eshetzov v'eshtochlem lotion ravi. The second part speaks about when a person just does it to himself, and that's very meduik of the lotion. Kol hapoyesh atzmoi midivrei Torah neifel begenim. So the fire is a higher level of punishment for someone who's mevatel others. And Gehenim is a lower level of punishment for someone who's mevatel himself. That's what the Mashal learns. The Maharal, both here in Chedush Agodas and a little more by Arichus and Nesivas Oil and Nesivas Torah Perek Tezvav, it seems that he's coming to say that there's two different inyanim over here. They're not talking about two different cases, but when a person leaves the Torah, on one hand he gets the fire, because the Torah is Eish, the Torah is considered to be Eish, so if you leave the Torah, you get fire. And the second Mandarma is saying that someone who leaves the Torah falls in Gehenim. Why is that so? Because he leaves the Torah, so then he's taking himself away from Ikar Mitzias, and then he goes to Gehenim, because the Gehenim is the opposite of Mitzias. And this is a big Yisoid, always the Maharal mentions, and others. The Gehenim, the main Gehenim is to be in inexistence. So Torah is the existence, the opposite is Gehenim. So two Nikudas, each one of them says, Mashal the Maharal says they're arguing, and it's two different Nikudas. Similar to the Maharal, the same derech is the Ritzik Azechover and the Or Torah Oisa Mergimot. And he goes with a little different Nikudo, but he says that there's two Nikudas over here. One is when a person leaves the Torah, he has fire. Fire means not the punishment, like the Maharal and Marshal learn. But he's talking about he gets fire, he has the Yitzhara of Taiva. Because he has Taiva, like a fire. He wants to go and do things which have to do with Taivas and Znus, and things have to do with that Yitzhara. And in addition, someone who leaves the Torah, he has the Yitzhara of Gehenim. It goes on to explain that there's four Yisoidus in the Bria, which have fire and wind and water, and then you have earth. And Offer belongs to Gehenim. The Offer, the earth, is the lowest part in the Bria, and that's what the Gehenim, that's what Gehenim is called Yerida. You go down to the bottom. So someone who connects the Torah goes up to the highest level. And he leaves the Torah, he goes down to the lowest level. So Pshat is either Yitzhar of Taiva, talk about someone who goes down to the lowest level, and it's similar Mahalach of the Maharal, you have your two Nikudas that happen when a person leaves the Torah. Finally, we'll end over here with a Divrei Torah Chaim. The Torah Chaim he explains in the Sugya. Now, Torah Chaim speaks about the first part of the Gemarah, but the Chorah, based on what he says, is very clear what the second part of the Gemarah is. Torah Chaim says it like this. What are we talking about when we're saying that someone who's poish b'divrei Torah eshochaltoi? So he says what we mentioned in the Shiurim of Rabbi Bachana, that when a person goes into the Olam Ha'emes, he has to go through Nahar Dinar. Nahar Dinar, as we mentioned then, is the letters Yarden. It's the river that separates to go into Olam Ha'emes. They have to go through Nahar Dinar. The tzaddikim go through Nahar Dinar, and they're not affected. They're able to pass Nahar Dinar and get to Olam Ha'emes. The Rishonim go to the Nahar Dinar and they stay there in Nahar Dinar. And they are consumed by Nahar Dinar. And he goes on and he brings what's brought down in Chagiga, in the end of the Masechta, that the Chachamim ein ur shel Gehenim shadas behem. The fire of Gehenim doesn't control the Chachamim. It says to Chaim, it's not that the Chachamim don't go to Gehenim. They have to go to Gehenim too. But the fire of Gehenim will not affect them. They'll be able to go through Gehenim and still survive. So meaning, everybody who has a virus needs to go through the Nahar Dinar, through the Gehenim. But whoever has the Koyach HaToros, he survives it. Says the Torah Chaim, that's what the Gemarah says over here. The Gemarah is saying, someone who leaves the Torah, so he doesn't have the protection of Torah. If he doesn't have protection of Torah, everybody goes into the Gehenna part. But the question is, will it be effective or not? If you have the Torah, so you protect it. If not, now the Torah doesn't continue this, but according to this, that's the Hemshach Gemarah is really the same thing. Someone who leaves the Torah, noifel begehenna. He's going to fall into Gehenna, and the Gehenna will affect him. It's really the same thing. Eishechalto means that he doesn't have the protection of the Torah, so the Gehenna affects him, and that's what he means in the next Rosh. He's noifel begehenna. They're both the same idea, that the Gehenna will affect this person who doesn't have the protection of Torah. Anyone who wants to join the Shomachshava email list to Hotsko, please email shomachshava@gmail.com.